Welcome to Straight from the Horse's Mouth radio show. I'm Paula Slater, your host. Today I'd like to welcome Kelsey Spence from the University of Guelph. Welcome, Kelsey.
Oh, thank you.
Now, you're doing let's talk about your program. You're in a program at Guelph where you're doing research.
Yes, that's right. So I'm a second-year Ph.D. student right now in the Department of Population Medicine. And my program is research-based, so we do sort of a bunch of research projects and kind of try to see what the results we can get from that. Okay,
so you are researching at this point?
Yes.
The horses that are traveling within Ontario?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and what are you titling your thesis?
I think right now it's kind of a work in progress. So we're looking at different methods to describe the horse travel patterns in Ontario and how they might influence potential disease spread.
Okay, so your purpose is to track the horses and sort of help horse owners prevent the transmission of equine-related diseases. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Great. Now, when you set up this survey, before in our little pre-talk, I was very surprised at some of the methods that you used to collect the data. Can you just speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. And I think we were quite surprised as well. I think the majority of ways we actually were able to recruit people that were interested in was using social media. So we put out ads on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Kijiji, which is very strange. I got lots of response from Kijiji. And we also put out some notices, flyers, handed out business cards. We also handed out little treat bags with horse treats in them, and that was a hit.
And you used some of the trade fairs and the different things that horse events that happen around?
That's right. So we went to the Can-Am Equine Expo in Markham last year, and it was so nice to be able to meet some of the horse owners and trainers in the industry and sort of explain why our research was important and why they should participate. And of course, give out the treat bags. I think that was the most important.
Now, how was the response to people? Did they feel that they were their privacy was being violated or anything like that, or were they supportive?
I think they were quite supportive, especially since the equine industry has traditionally been under-researched. So a lot of the previous research in horses has focused on lameness or breeding and reproduction areas, and not necessarily these types of disease studies at a group level. So we actually did find that everyone was very supportive and interested in sort of participating in our research and helping us with our research question. I think it just takes a little bit more of explaining to do on why we think it's important and why it's important for other people, especially those in the industry, to really help us with our research.
Now, maybe just explain why you think it's important.
Well, I think in general, research really allows us to explore any unknown questions surrounding a concept or issue, and then to develop a plan to answer the questions with some level of accuracy. So in our case, we don't really know what any sort of contact structure or contact patterns looks like when horses travel to multiple places. And this could be traveling to compete in shows or even traveling to the vet or go visit your friend at a different barn. And these sort of travel patterns could cause implications for disease spread. And although it's not really what we're doing right now, it's more of sort of a future thing, but it would cause sort of long-term implications for disease management plans, I think, in Canada.
Now, can you just explain, the listeners for the Straight from the Horse's Mouth radio show are all over the world, and if you don't live in Canada, you may not be aware of what Guelph is doing in terms of equine research and what facilities they have, etc. Can you just shortly give us that information?
Yeah, so The University of Guelph is actually quite unique. So we have the Ontario Veterinary College here, which is where I'm based. And we also have a very amazing relationship with Equine Guelph, which is a center for equine health and welfare here at the university. And they really help out with a lot of these sort of research initiatives and health campaigns and sort of being the connection between researchers and those in the industry.
Mm-hmm. The Equine Guelph, is that part of the university, or is it a separate, is it funded by government, or is it funded by the equine industry?
It's a not-for-profit industry, but they have partnerships with the industry, so they are able to be funded by the industry. But what they get from the industry, they're able to give back through funding other research projects like ours. So it's a really unique partnership in ways that we can sort of see what is needed in the industry and tailor our research questions and our research projects to what we can give back to the industry.
Well, that's excellent. Now, where is it located? Is it on the university campus?
It is. So it's just right down the road from the vet college. And you'll know you're coming up to it because there's a whole bunch of lovely horses outside.
Right in the city.
Yeah. And then you know you're in the right area.
Oh, that's great. All right. Let's go back to your research. Now, what questions did you ask horse owners?
We started out with, so we had two separate phases of our study. The first one, after we got people to join, we asked them a very standard questionnaire about their horse and their facility, so their barn or wherever their horse was located. And we also asked about the characteristics of their horse, their age, their sex, and the characteristics of the horses at their barn. And then after that, once we got all of that sort of initial information, we went on, and every month between May and November, we sent out another questionnaire asking where they went with their horse. So if they were to travel to a show or if they went to their friend's barn, we would capture that sort of information and any details about their trip.
And how long did you follow them?
It was 7 long months.
And how many horses were in the study, or how many owners, rather? First of all, how many owners were in the study?
So we had about 220 owners in the study.
And how many horses?
And those owners, actually, a lot of them answered for more than one horse. So we had about 570 horses in total being followed. So it was quite, it exceeded my expectations for how many people were actually going to want to participate in the research. And I think that one of the most amazing parts of our research is that people actually stayed in the study, that they found it quite interesting, or I hope that they found it interesting. So they wanted to stay through the entire 7 months, and we had a really good response from all of them.
Yes, and actually that's how I found you. I participated in the study.
Yes.
And my feeling was, again, anything that can help horses and horse owners, I think is important. All right. So, Kelsey, what did you learn about the travel patterns from the horse owners in Ontario?
So far, we've learned that they're extremely diverse. So because we tracked over a long period of time, we can actually map out these travel patterns in smaller time periods. So right now, we just broke it down into 1 month time periods. So for May, June, July, and the travel patterns in just those months are completely different, and it's extremely interesting to sort of look at and map out. But we're hoping to sort of maybe break it down into disciplines. So if we look at the travel patterns of dressage horses or hunter-jumper horses and see if there's any differences between them as well. So we have lots of stuff to do. I think we're just sort of in the beginning stages of looking at all of the stuff that we found, but it is quite interesting so far.
Now, how many horses or horse owners traveled to United States?
We only had a few, so I would say a handful. Not very many, but I think, again, it might depend on what they were traveling there for. So if it was if they're high-level competitors, or if they're in a discipline that travels very often to multiple places, but only a handful, I would say.
Now, how many horse owners traveled across Canada east or west? Let's go with west. How many went west?
I think only one or two, maybe. Again,
really?
A handful. And it might just be because we did restrict our study to those who reside or live in Ontario. But I don't know. I think that's another interesting point to look at is that, why didn't very many travel across the country or across borders or anything? But again, I would say only a handful.
And what about east?
East, we didn't have anyone who traveled east, only west.
Oh.
So I don't know. It's a weird question. I'm not really sure.
Right. Now, and then my next question is, what about overseas?
Overseas, we didn't have anybody. I think the farthest they went was down south to the States, and then across to BC. But that's about it.
Okay. So that's interesting because, again, you just, I don't know where the top performers live in Canada. So, the high professional riders.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Or whether they'd even participate in a study. But that would be interesting too, because they are the ones that are going outside,
Yeah, and I think that was part of our motivation to do it this summer, especially because of the Pan Am Games. And we're kind of trying to see if there was going to be a lot of travel around that area or even going to that facility. But of course, we can't track anyone coming into the country. But it is sort of a caveat of research being, who participates in your study will determine the kind of results that you get.
Right. So are you hoping to get maybe the more high-profile riders on board, or?
I think that would be a good next step because the types of travel patterns that the high-level competitors would have is completely different than the lower levels or even those who don't travel at all. So I think it's a natural next step into our project.
Now, have you had any sort of communication with other researchers in the United States? I mean, I know that horse owners down there do a lot of traveling to different shows, and I know they come up here. And I also know that there's another group that do a lot of horse camping right across the states or all over the states. So that would be sort of interesting to collaborate. I don't know. Would you have any sort of plans for that?
I think so, and I think it's a great question because it's so unique, especially because of the climate differences. So I would imagine that the travel patterns in the States are crazy compared to those that we see here when we're restricted to a very few months to, go and travel with your horse in the nice, beautiful weather. But I think we haven't really looked into that, but I think it's a good idea, and seeing how we can compare the two and maybe even compare, way down the road, compare the differences in disease frequency in each of the countries.
And is there any sort of connection between the Equine Canada, between them and the States?
I'm not sure. I think because they're regulated by different bodies, it might not be as connected as we would think, but or hope. But I think, it's important, especially because there is lots of travel between the two countries, or presumed. I'm not sure. But I think it would be a good thing to have the connection between the two.
And when we think about animals or show animals moving because of trailers, etc., they do quite a bit of traveling compared to, say, well, I guess dogs, are going across the border, etc. That's a whole different thing there. But I guess the biggest concern for horse owners is the, spread of disease and trying so hard to manage it. Now, do you have a team, or how is your setup organized?
Yes, so I do, of course. We're always part of a team, which is amazing. So I have two co-advisors for my Ph.D., and so they're sort of the lead investigators on the project, and that's Amy Greer and Terry O'Sullivan. And then we did have some research assistants help us with recruitment, Cindy Bogan and Beverly Go. And of course, they're very essential to being able to go out and about and make connections with all of the horse owners and the horse trainers that we're trying to sort of connect with. And of course, along the way, we've had lots of help in sort of getting the word out there about our project through Equine Guelph, the Ontario Equestrian Federation, Equine Canada, and OMAFRA for sure, and the Ontario Animal Health Network. There's just lots of people that have sort of helped us along the way in sort of explaining why our research is important and sort of trying to bridge the connection between researchers, the knowledge users in the industry, and equine practitioners.
And you were mentioning, too, that you're hoping that this, you'll get the other provinces on board as well and look at a cross-Canada one, correct?
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. And I mean, there would be so many differences across Canada. This is the first time that this has sort of been done in Canada. So if we can start here in Ontario at the vet college, maybe we can then expand to the other vet colleges and see what the differences are across Canada.
That would be very good. Excellent. Yes, and there's so many offshoots this study could take, and looking at different factors. It's just huge.
There's so many questions, and I think that's one of the great things about research is that I think the more you do it, the more questions that come up. It's like, oh, this would be great.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's so exciting, and I think it's a wonderful career. I mean, it would always be. You would always be totally excited about something.
It is, and that's it's my favorite part of coming to school and continue through my research is that, I mean, I know what I'm doing is making a difference, and then just from talking with horse owners and speaking with those that were involved in our study, I know that everyone is very interested and engaged and excited about our research, which makes me excited to keep doing it.
And find out the other thing, too, it's going to be really interesting to find out the results when they do come out. When do you predict that they will be ready?
Well, I think over the next coming months, I'll start sort of going through the results and sorting through it and seeing what we have so far. I should be done my degree in the next year and a half, so for sure by then.
Right.
But I would say within the next year we'll have a lot of stuff coming out on what we found.
And you would be publishing that maybe, no, I'm thinking about horse owners now. I know it would be published through the university, but, maps and that sort of thing in the different publications like the Federation, etc.
Yeah, so we would love to sort of get our research out that way. Maybe we were thinking, down the line of hosting some sort of seminar to provide a presentation on it. And of course, our results will go out through Equine Guelph and even our website maybe, and kind of avenues like that. Oh,
that would be great. That would be wonderful. Now, Kelsey, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to share with listeners, horse owners?
I think the main point about all of this is that to really see how such a small time investment through participating in research, so through helping us, through answering our surveys, even though I think it was a long time, like 7 months is a long time, but our participants still wanted to participate and help us. So just through these small time investments, we can provide substantial outcomes in terms of benefiting the health and welfare of horses.
Now, what was your dropout rate?
I think I haven't looked at it yet, but I will say that we looked at our response rate, which is kind of the opposite. So how many people stayed?
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the positive. I like you.
So we had, of course, it declined, which is just very, very standard in sort of long studies. But every month we actually reached 60% of the original amount of people. And then by the end of it, so the last survey in November actually was 67%. So by the end of the study, we still had 67% of people answering me, which was amazing. Good. That's very, very good, and it's very unheard of in the research area that I work in. So it's kind of something that we're pushing and thanking our participants. Like, thank you.
Yes, yes. No, well, that's wonderful. Yeah. Now, Kelsey, can you share, I know that people perhaps would like to follow some of this, so I was wondering if you could share the website for Equine Guelph and some of the other ways that maybe people can keep an eye on what this study has produced.
Yeah, so Equine Guelph, their website is just equineguelph.ca. And
that's
it's
easy.
Very easy to remember. And you can follow them also on Facebook or Twitter at Equine Guelph. And we also have a website. So our research lab website is mathepilab.org, and you can find updates on our research there.
Now, what are the other things that your lab is following? It's not just horses, correct?
It's not just horses. So we're just one of the sort of subsets of my lab's research. We do have sort of a horse program going on right now. So myself and we have another Ph.D. student, Rachel, who is going in to look at different types of contact patterns within a barn.
Wow.
So sort of that would be our next step. But we also have other avenues. So one of my fellow students is working on emerging disease MERS-CoV in camels, which is very interesting and exotic.
Yes, exactly, for Canada.
Yeah, so we also have dog overpopulation. So my advisor and another fellow student is working on sort of looking at dog overpopulation in Mexico and sort of the strategies to control that in humane ways. And we also have human-focused research, so not just animals, but sort of human infectious diseases and sort of the bridge between human and environmental health. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here, which is quite interesting.
Yes, there's always something wonderful going on at the University of Guelph, indeed. No, we're really fortunate, I think, in Ontario to have the vet college and, Equine Guelph. My goodness, I think horse owners are just very grateful.
I think so, too. And I think it shows because, we did another project a little while ago. I think, it must have been about a year and a half ago now, where we did a smaller version of this project at a dressage show. Mm-hmm. And just through our survey and asking about the characteristics of the horses, the owners knew so much about good biosecurity practices and good horsekeeping practices. And sort of, what they should do to reduce the spread of diseases. And they were extremely knowledgeable, which sort of speaks to the type of people in the horse industry here, is that they know what they're doing and they're doing good stuff. Mm-hmm.
Well, I must say, and because Guelph is known for its agriculture programs, etc., as well, I know that they have an outreach area, classes, clinics, that sort of thing, because as my husband and I are sheep farmers, and there's always an opportunity for education. And, of course, biosecurity in the sheep industry is very big as well.
Yes, for sure.
Now, I don't know. I think most sheep owners, try very hard. I'm sure the other species as well. But, I think, again, more education through going to different things like the shows and the big ones like the Royal and Can-Am, etc., help people become more aware. And I think that people are. I'm not sure. Just because I'm a farmer, I'm not sure if the general public are aware about biosecurity and the need to keep everything as clean as possible and not have a transfer between farms. And, that's good. All right. Well, Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about this wonderful, wonderful thesis that you're working on. And I'm so excited to, hear about what's going to happen down the road. I'd love to know. And maybe you would think about coming back at the end when everything is sort of tallied up. And
yeah, I would love to. I think that's amazing. That would be so much fun.
Yeah. So we'll keep in touch. And I want to thank you again then.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right then. Bye.
Goodbye.
I hope you enjoyed my interview today with Kelsey Spence, a researcher from the University of Guelph. and I'd like to take this opportunity to say a few words about Equine Guelph. Equine Guelph is a not-for-profit center at the University of Guelph, serving the horse and its industry through education, research, healthcare promotion, and industry development. Founded in 2003, Equine Guelph is supported and overseen by equine industry groups, and they are dedicated to improving the health and well-being of horses. Your support helps fund groundbreaking work that is making a significant difference in the lives of our horses, ranging from the beloved backyard pony to the high-performance athlete. There are many ways of investing in the health and well-being available through Equine Guelph. To find how you can make a donation, please go to www.equineguelph.ca and click the donation tab for the many options available. This is Paula Slater signing off for Straight from the Horse's Mouth radio show. We'll see you next week. Bye.